Hi, good afternoon. I'm Patrick Noonan, Senior Product Manager of Wealth Management at Advisor 360. And joining me today is Colin Ross, our Product Manager of Wealth Management. And today we're thrilled to be talking about advisor transitions. Thanks for joining me today, Colin.
Good afternoon, Patrick. Happy to be here to talk to you about advisor transitions.
Definitely a hot topic in the market today. As we've got together and we've had a lot of these calls, we've talked a lot about onboarding new clients and advisors, meeting people and onboarding their actual new investors and developing that relationship. We're going to switch gears a little bit today and talk about advisors that are actually joining new firms. And that's a huge event. When an advisor joins a new firm, they're really, in most cases, moving their entire book of business to maybe a new custodian, new login. So a lot goes into that process. And it's pretty popular. According to FA Magazine, 10,000 advisors switched firms last year, which was up 7.5% from the preceding year. So we know it's a pretty hot activity that's happening every day across the industry. Colin, could you talk to us for a few minutes today about what does an advisor transition involve? What's kind of the things that people have to do when they're in that process?
Absolutely. We certainly see it as a growing trend in the market. And if you look at it from a few different angles, you can see why. From the industry perspective, there's always been movement in the wirehouse or broker-dealer space. Over time, the process become a little bit more standardized, going back to the mid-2000s with the creation of broker protocol. Before that, there were a lot of lawsuits, so this was a way to limit litigation and support an accepted process. And what it originally started as to facilitate transition between wirehouses really opened the door for growth in the independent and broker-dealer space. Over the last decade, there's been significant growth in the RIA market. Over 2% yearly growth in the number of firms, over 5% yearly growth in the number of advisors. And by 2027, it's projected RIAs will control around a third of the market. Now, if we look at this from the firm level, advisor transition is really key strategically to a lot of firms. Today's market is so competitive, so it's critical that firms offer competitive features and services, and that applies to the transition process as well. They want to ensure not only that they're retaining their advisors, also they're also attracting new ones. And from the advisor's perspective, it's important for them to put themselves and their investors in the best possible position, which, as you say, can often lead to moving firms. And this could happen for several reasons, including better services or technology, financial incentives such as increased compensation, or more flexibility in how they run their practice. All this and more can factor into that decision-making process. And as you said, with almost 10,000 advisors making that decision last year, it's certainly a common occurrence. And if we look at the process itself, it can be quite painful. At a high level, it requires moving accounts from one custodian to another, or the broker-dealer, which requires opening new accounts or changing broker-dealers on the existing account. This generally requires a repapering of the accounts, which is completing all the account paperwork to establish and fund that account. All the paperwork must go to signature for the client and come back to the firm for processing. This includes reviews and approvals at the home office before ultimately being sent to this custodian or the sponsor for final processing.
So it's a big process, right? And it's certainly one that you need to be very organized in doing it. And you alluded at some of almost the pain points that we talk about. I actually switched firms many years ago, about 15 years ago. I switched from wirehouse to a regional. And I do remember kind of, a lot of planning went into that, a lot of thought process, and the things that we had to be prepared for. So the different hurdles and the pain points and just, what should we kind of expect when someone wants to change? So you alluded to the repapering, but talk to us just a little bit about kind of the pain points from different perspectives of when someone's changing a firm. What are the issues, the pain points, the hurdles that they run into?
Definitely. Yeah, each persona in the process is going to encounter, their own unique challenges. When we look at the firm, when a new office joins, there's a large volume of incoming paperwork. So a big challenge really comes down to the ability to scale and handle those spikes. They certainly don't want to do that with manpower, so it's critical for them to have technology solutions to facilitate this process. This includes ways to streamline the account opening and the funding through automation and integrations. The more time they can spend training the new office on tools and policies, the better. From the advisor perspective, a big challenge they face is really around the regulations with contacting clients. They generally can't contact them until after they've officially joined and can't give any notice to those clients beforehand. In addition to this, some advisors may have additional challenges related to the relationship of their prior firm, and if that firm is a member of broker protocol, which is really going to impact the regulations they must follow. So there's really two different types of transitions. When we're looking at the protocol transition, The advisor is able to take some of their client data with them, and then that really helps them support the transition. It allows them to prepare a little bit more before their join date and allows them to hit the ground running on day one. When we look at a non-protocol transition, the advisor isn't able to take data with them. This presents a new challenge as they must gather all the data after the join date, and often leads to a race between the advisor and the firm to retain that client. Regardless of the type of transition, though, the processes are largely similar. The advisor must contact the client first to confirm that they want to come with them. There needs to be consent here. Then they need to work with the client to gather all the data needed to establish and fund the accounts. So things like account information, beneficiaries, transfer details, account features such as bank lines. And in addition to this, a lot of the transitioning advisors need to adjust to new systems by the new firm, such as a new CRM, and that might involve additional activities such as creating households or contacts. From the investor perspective, the change can come as a big surprise. They didn't have any warning that anything was happening here. So the pain point for them is really an unexpected time requirement on their behalf and how that really fits into their schedule. They have a busy life and they prefer, as little disruption as possible, which means efficient interactions in a single signing ceremony. It's estimated 15 to 20% of clients can be lost in the transition. So it's critical for advisors to convert as many clients as possible. It's certainly a very stressful time for the entire office.
Yeah, definitely. And the loss of a client is really the worst case scenario, right? We have the advisors that work so hard to cultivate this relationship and build this trust. Investors want to hope and that the advisor's making the right decision for them as they switch firms. And then it's clearly so important to make this process so smooth. It's smooth for the advisor, smooth for the investor. And there are some things that are going to be harder to do than others. But definitely, you're trying to run your business. And while you're trying to actively run your business, you're also possibly learning all new things and all new tools, getting all new signatures. Clients travel, clients work, clients have income needs. So it's something that you want to think hard about, really plan around, and then work with a technology provider then that would help you make this process smoother. So as we kind of move to that angle, how are we at Advisor 360 today helping advisors with this transition process?
Absolutely. What we do in our advisor transition tool is try to make the process as seamless as possible. We allow for collecting all the data within a spreadsheet, which really allows those protocol advisors to prepare beforehand and then improves the speed at which all advisors can collect the data. Really want to support the advisors to open and fund those accounts as quickly as possible. The tool allows for thousands of accounts to be imported at a single time. In addition to creating the draft records within our account opening tool, we'll also automatically create those CRM contacts and households. We have validations throughout the entire process to limit NIGOs, ensure accuracy and compliance. And ultimately, all the data is populated onto the required forms, generating a single bundle for the client for signature. Post-signature, we have process in place to support indexing the documents, updating or approving accounts, and sending documents to the custodians. All this results in a faster time for advisors to transition their book, removes manual tasks by the firm or the advisor's office, and creates a single delivery for the client. At the end of the day, we want the advisor and staff to be focused on more important things like their clients and their financial well-being.
Yeah, that's great. And certainly the speed obviously helping the transition, but also clients, we don't want them disrupted too long. So if they need to, they like going online, they have a new client portal. If they had an ACH and a deposit, we want that reset up quickly. So anything that we can really do to make that process as easy for the end investor and the advisor to continue to service their clients and certainly create a good experience as they enter a new relationship and a new firm and hopefully new opportunities for their investors to experience. So kind of beyond we just talked about, what's on your roadmap for Advisor 360 to look at in the future to kind of continue to help with this process?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're excited about what we built, but there's always ways to improve, right? So on our roadmap, we're looking at a few things. One is really the number of custodians we support to really help firms, make the choice and be agnostic of the custodian. Two, we're looking to improve the funding time of accounts. As we mentioned before, it's really important. So how do we integrate with the custodians more, submit transfers straight through or any other money movement activity? Onboarding an account isn't really complete until all the assets have been transferred. So how can we speed up that process? And three, we want investors to contribute to the process more independently. As we know, everyone lives a busy life. So how do we enable them to interact on their own time?
Yeah, that's great, right? Because, and especially in the world we live in now, where clients are living all over the country, and so we need to make sure that we're accommodating them, and again, not disrupting their lives. That's great. It's really exciting here. And again, we see these as the RIA market is growing. We do see a lot of advisors changing firms and using different custodians, and the easier we can make it here at Advisor 360, the better, both for advisors, the firms that they work for, and then the end investors that they're servicing. Thanks for joining me today, and thanks for everyone for listening to us here at Advisor 360 and hearing about how we're helping firms and advisors change firms and improving that experience. Big thanks to everyone again for joining. And if you'd like to learn more about Advisor 360, please visit our website at www.advisor360.com. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.